Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, Lagos State Sports Commission hails an impressive outing at the just concluded National Youth Games. Coming in from the world of tennis, world number one Sina maintained top spots in the latest ranking. Tonight, Hot Sports brief Pascal Cup in Europe. Details of these and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back, Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. Kingsley One is here this hour.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Very happy to be here this morning.
As usual, we'll start from the local scene here where the women's 4x400 meters quarter repeat dominance at the Fayo Aremi Franks Ademis Games as emerged as champions. The 400 level student of the computer science ran into a headwind of 1.8 seconds to snatch the top spot at 10.0 seconds. Kingsley, this 11th All-African Games is beginning to show skills with Nigerian university students doing well.
Yeah, impressive one it's been so far, and for me, I think the Nigerian university student have really shown progress, and I think you take a look at how far it has gone, Unilag, and they've actually been doing very well. Taking a look at the performance we saw yesterday in the 4x400 meters, we saw them, of course, maintaining that dominance, of course, we saw last time, and of course, you see that's a statement of intent that Unilag, of course, as a university in Nigeria, are doing, are trying most of they can to make sure they put up, their best when it has to do with, sports, not just sports, but you talk about sports like, athletics, you talk about football, and the rest of them. They've actually put up that high level of dominance. We saw what, of course, Lagos did in the not just concluded national game, put up a very impressive performance in the aspect of boxing, and the rest of it. That should tell you that, of course, there are talents abound in Lagos, and that's what we're seeing at this point in the university games. And we're looking forward to see how this one comes up. Don't forget, Lagos, of course, the host of this particular one. 2 universities down there in Lagos putting up this one, and I think the athletes are trying to show that dominance, looking at the fact that they're at home at this point.
Let's look at the 100 meters time event. 10.070 seconds. That's what the Nigerian did use in emerging. We have the second place athlete from Ghana, 10.74 and 10.08 seconds. This is good time for university students to return as compared to at least the continental time in the 100 meters race.
A very good time, of course, you say, and you ask yourself, if students from the university are coming up with such time, is it not pertinent that, of course, we look into that direction and see how we can, of course, help them, grow and as well better their skill more in this particular aspect. And also, taking a look at this, the university games is also a ground where, of course, athletes can be bred, talent can be sported. And I also want to, tilt my advice, to some federation to look into the university games, see how they can possibly, of course, get, sport talent, from this one. If you see an athlete coming up with such a time, that should tell you that this athlete has something in him or her. It's a statement of intent that such a person, of course, can definitely do well if being given the proper condition, of course, to function. And for me, it should be a ground where some federations, sporting federations down here in Nigeria should go down there and see how to sport talent. Some of these students in universities are not really particular much about study. Some want to go into sports, and that's why they're engaging themselves, of course, in competitions like this. So it's a very good one, talking about the timing, and I think at this point in time, we should start looking at to see how we can possibly, create that platform for them, of course, to grow.
While a Nigerian male university student has emerged as champion in the 100 meters race event, is athlete from Ghana, a women's 100 meters finalist who did take up form in a title time of 12.18 seconds. Compatriot Zainab Awuni from Unicap also came second place after running 12.367 to nick it out in the second level position. We saw 12.38 seconds as the third place finisher in this event. The two of the games continues with the resounding victory within the 4x400 meters final. We saw a 3.12 seconds as a finisher in the event with the athlete from the University of Ghana. Well, this is a conglomeration of African universities. It looks like a University of Nigeria and students from Nigerian University and Ghana universities are in the forefront so far.
Yeah, from what it says, I think Nigerian universities, university athletes, they've been doing well. The athletes down here at Nigerian University, they've been putting up a very impressive performance, especially students from Unilag, a student from LASU. The other day we saw a student from University, from Kano, putting up a very impressive performance, in judo as well. A student from the University of Ghana as well, they've not also been left out in action. They've also put up some level of impressive performance, doing so well, in different events. And the 4x400 meters event, of course, is one of them, which we've seen them, of course, also putting up that high level of performance. And for me, I think it's a good one, for Africa down here. We should be looking forward to see how we can spot out talent, from this particular one.
Nigeria University Games with an mixture of some African universities joining in this 11th edition of the competition, and promises to be very thrilling from what we're saying. Let's just hope that different federations here in Nigeria, sports federation, are actually, keeping an eye on what is going on at the Nigerian University Games. Away from that, still in athletics, commendation has come the way of athletes that participated at the National Youth Games for Lagos State. The Director General of the Lagos State Sports Commission, Lekonf Atugu, has praised a very impressive outing. You remember, Lagos State did a match second at the just concluded National Youth Games. Yeah,
Lagos State, the one state that have maintained dominance when it has to do with the National Youth Games in almost all the edition. You always see them in the top 5. And for me, I think it's then time for them to also step up and see how they can also mount the #1 position when it has to do with the medals table. They had an impressive outing, finishing second down there with 26 gold, 19 silver, and 24 bronze medal. But they were nowhere close with Delta State, who came first in that one. Delta had about almost 50 gold medal, but Lagos State came up with 26 gold medals. That's to tell you the difference. So for me, impressive outing for them, but I think they should do more, at this point in time, because if you take a look at the margin in terms of the gold medal won between Delta State and Lagos State, you will see it's very huge. Impressive outing, but I think they should do more. We saw them putting up impressive outing in sport like boxing, football. Those were the sports, of course, they had a very impressive outing. And for me, I think despite the impressive outing coming out second, but you take a look at the margin between the first and the second is very, very huge. So for me, I think Lagos State should do more in terms of equipping their athletes ahead of the next edition of the National Youth Games.
Talking about the National Youth Games and the performances of the Lagos State contingent, I think I'm more impressed with their haul from the pools. They came out with 10 medals from the swimming pools, and that's quite a lot. They had 4 gold, 4 silver, and 2 bronze medals. If you know that swimming has a lot of medals, and if you can take maybe out of 40 medals, you take 10, that's quite a big number for one state. I would say congratulations to the Lagos State contingent there. And now we'll still bring you some more high-profile information from the world of athletics, where Jasmine Kamachi Queen, remember, closing in style, winning the women's 100 meters hurdle event at a meet in New York City at a time of 12.36 seconds. Hurdles and Nigeria and United States of America. You can put them together, Kingsley. Kamachi Queen doing what our own athlete can do far better.
Yeah, definitely. Impressive performance from Kamachi Queen. Despite not having that impressive outing at the just concluded Paris Olympic, we saw the lady from America talking about Marcel Roussel. She came for, she took the gold medal in the whole event, of course, in the Paris Olympic game. But this time, Kamachi Queen was able to get past her in this particular one. Kamachi Queen came first while she came second. And we saw Alicia Johnson, She came third, while Alyssa Johnson came second in this one. And that's to tell you that Camacho Queen, she's still, of course, on a very good form, despite what happened to her, of course, in the Paris Olympic Games. So for me, I think it's a good one. And talking about the tournament, it's actually, of course, a very impressive one. I think this one's actually been put together by the husband of Serena Williams, putting up this one for, of course, athletes, to come compete with a very huge, prize money as well attached, to this particular one. So for me, I think it's a good one for Camacho Queen, stepping up her dominance, once again, to prove that, of course, she's really the queen, when it has to do with the hurdles events.
Camacho Queen, talking about real queen of the hurdles event. We just hope that our Nigerian hurdler, Toby Amusu, keeps an eye on what's happening out there in New York. Meanwhile, we'll get to tennis now. And talking about tennis reminds me that there's been a latest ranking from the organizing authorities there in tennis. They're talking about ATP ranking and, of course, the WTA ranking. Yannick Sinner, of course, the tennis player from Italy, continues to dominate, while Iga Swiatek continues to dominate as well in the female, that is the WTA. Yannick Sinner, ATP champion, #1 in the world, and we saw Alexander Zverev come second. There is Carlos Alcaraz in the third place position, looking like now a familiar position for Carlos. And Novak Djokovic, #4, no longer #1. Then Medvedev 5, Andrei Rublev 6. That looks like a very familiar position for these two. Taylor Fritz is in the 7th place position. Håkard Hubert of Poland is in the 8th place position. Kasper Ruud of Norway in 9 and 10 is Grigor Dimitrov. First, let's look at the ATP ranking there. Do you have any issues about the placement of the first 10 out there?
Yes, for me, you take a look at the top 5. I'm surprised with the movement of Alexander Zverev down to the second. The man hasn't won anything this year,
but it's come to close at these most of the Grand Slams. He's played up to the quarterfinal stage.
Yeah, he's played up to the quarterfinal stage.
And that's a lot of points.
A lot of points, and that's what, of course, so many tennis players have to understand. It's not just about winning titles, but the level at which you get in every tournament you play also accumulate points for you. And that's what we've seen, for the man Alexander Zverev. I think for me, a surprising one. Looking at the fact that Alcaraz has won, of course, 2 titles this season. It's about 2 Grand Slams.
2 Grand Slams. That's 4,000 points.
4,000 points. Wimbledon and the French Open. Had at least a pretty performance, you would say, in some other ATPs as well. For Novak Djokovic, has been a very abysmal season for him. Hasn't won anything apart from the Paris Olympic, gold medal. He won, at this point in time, and that's why, of course, we'll see him drop, to #4. But for Zverev, everyone, of course, seemed to not be pleased with that position. But I think the man merits it when you take a look at how he has been able to progress. I think where it actually matters most was the US Open, where he was able to get to the 4th round. Djokovic was ousted out in the 2nd round, while Alcaraz was also in the 3rd round. So he was able to get to the 4th round of the US Open, and that also, added points, to him. And that's why we saw him, of course, pushing up 2nd position. Good one for Zverev, but can he maintain that position? We've seen him being inconsistent. How can he maintain it? Is he going to, add up to this by winning a Grand Slam or probably a title for himself, at least before the season, runs out? I think when you take a look at a player like Alexander Zverev, you should be saying that he should be, of course, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Djokovic, Alcaraz, and Yannick Sinner when it has to do with, performance. But he's nowhere close, to these guys. I talk about Daniel Medvedev, who is seated 5th at this point in time. Also, the same case with him. Inconsistency have been the reason why these guys have not really shown much progress. But we hope that with this, ranking at this point, this might be a thing of motivation for them going forward.
Talking about motivation for tennis players, the ranking position side, it motivates, I will not doubt about it. Novak Djokovic in an unfamiliar 4th place position at this time.
Yeah, I tell you, the season had not really been rosy for Novak Djokovic. Started the season very poorly, had to part ways, of course, with his coach, and still yet not really getting what he wants. Getting down to the US, but not being able, of course, to prove himself, was also out, I think, yes, in the 2nd round, like I've mentioned. I think what he has been able to do so far this season is the gold medal he won in the Paris Olympic game, which, of course, was a very huge fulfillment for him. That was, one medal or one title that has eluded him, in his career, and he was able to grab that, this year. Apart from that, Djokovic has not not been fantastic so far this season. We'll see him, of course, opting out from some tournaments. Some of the tournaments he didn't play, and that's where, of course, his point, of course, has to drop. And the one he participated in couldn't actually accumulate more points, and that's why we're seeing Djokovic in number 4 position at this point. Not a familiar position, of course, you would say, for Novak Djokovic, but I think the man still has a lot, of course, in his kitty. We'll hope that maybe for the remaining ATP titles, he might possibly, of course, grab more points to see where he can finish before the season comes to an end.
Talking about the season coming to an end, we have Novak Djokovic, of course, clearly with the man with the most titles in tennis on planet Earth as we speak. But for the year 2024, he's having it not too rosy because he's ended it as world number 4, not world number 1, where he used to be. In fact, that preceded in this year. Meanwhile, in the female category, Iga Swiatek from Poland continues to say she is the number 1, and that is true because of the points she has amassed. She too has continued to get to crucial stages of the Grand Slam, and that's why she is world number 1.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, Iga Swiatek, I think nobody has given her that competition. Yeah, we've not really seen that competition.
Sabalenka is second place.
Arina Sabalenka is second place, but she has not taken it upon herself to really challenge Iga Swiatek. We've seen her opting out from some tournaments. And you opting out from some tournaments, it means your points will drop. You will not be able to accumulate more points. And so if she has possibly maybe participated in almost all the WTAs, and then yes, we saw her in the Grand Slam, maybe she would have gotten closer, probably top Iga Swiatek this time. But for the fact that she has to opt out from some tournaments and not being able to go far in some of the WTAs and the Grand Slam tournaments she played, I think that's why, of course, she's still maintaining that second position. I'm expecting Arina Sabalenka to give Iga Swiatek that competition. That's what we want to see at this point in time. For Iga Swiatek, very fantastic. You say the season has been for her. She's won some couple of titles and be able to push herself and maintain that dominance. And the question is, how long will she stay there? She's still maintained that position for a very long time now. And you will say, of course, she has that pedigree, of course, to do more. But I think if you take a look at how the season has been, she really have to up her game, because we're seeing Arina Sabalenka stepping up only if she will put up that, very high spirit to make sure she give her that huge challenge. For me, it's been a very rosy one for Iga Swiatek, and we hope she continues to maintain that number 1 position.
Women Tennis Association ranking: Iga Swiatek number 1, Arina Sabalenka in second place. Third place is Jessica Pegula from the United States of America. Then the Kazakhstan player Elena Rybakina is in the 4th place position. Jasmine Polini from Italy is 5th. Coco Gauff, yes, Coco Gauff of the United States of America is 6th place. Jing Chun Wing of China in the 7th place position. Emma Navarro from the United States of America is 8th place. Daniel Collins is 9th place, and Barbara Krejcikova from the Czech Republic is the 10th place player as we speak. We begin to have to wrap up the first half of the program, but first maybe we'll bring you one more story from Formula 1. Kingsley, it looks like Daniel Ricciardo has been replaced by Liam Lawson at RB Racing. What's happening now? It looks like there's a lot of activities in Formula 1, and now we're beginning to experience movement of drivers from some of the chances.
Yes, drivers are moving, because I think if you take a look at the 2025 season promises to be an exciting one. So drivers are also looking forward to constructors that will be fit enough for them come next season. For Ricciardo, I think he has not been in a very good form since he broke his wrist. The man has been finding it difficult, of course, to put things right. I think he actually broke his wrist. That was in the Dutch Grand Prix. And now the Red Bull team, they are saying that they're going to replace him at this point, with Lawson, a young lad who is also coming up, when it has to do with Formula 1 at this point in time. Things has not really been rosy for Red Bull, in the last 5 races at this point in time. Max Verstappen not really been on his toes. I was seeing the guys, I think, from McLaren, the likes of Piastri and Lando Norris, coming up very, very stronger at this point in time. So I think Red Bull, they're just seeing how to make sure that they don't lose out when it has to do with the constructor's title and the driver's title as well. So we'll just see what Lawson will be able to do this time for Red Bull. We have about 6 races remaining this season, for things to get done and dusted, and they want to make sure that they put things right before the season comes to an end.
6 races to the end of the 2024-2025 Formula One season, and we still have Max Verstappen being in trouble there by some, of course, drivers that are beginning to emerge. Will you say that it's like Max Verstappen is losing steam towards the end of the season?
Yeah, definitely. He's really losing because at this point in time, we're seeing the guys from McLaren, like I've mentioned, Lando Norris, Piastri, giving him that tough time. This time, not Mercedes anymore, not even Ferrari, but a certain McLaren that nobody even gave a chance when the season got started. Are really, putting a very huge performance, at this point in time. And I think Max Verstappen the man is worried at this point. And I think the reason for this is the fact that the Red Bull team, they had a little bit of dysfunction in their car, and it's not really helping the man at this point in time. So for me, he should just try to see how to watch it and see what he can be able to do before the 6 races, of course, come to an end. I think when you take a look at the drivers' points now, he's just up there with just 51 points. And if time is not ticking, 51 points is very small. In the remaining 6 races, that can be done. So he should actually watch it, or else, his dominance might end this season.
That will be it. We are not ending the program just yet. We're just taking a break. When we return from the break, we'll go into the ever-busy world of football, where there's some interesting news in the Nigerian Women Football League and across Europe. There were some action last night in the Europa League, and this weekend promises to be thrilling, with matches returning in the Nigerian Premier Football League and across Europe as well. Details when we return from the break. Stay with us.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back. Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. We told you how it's been topsy-turvy, in Formula One of recent. It was Max Verstappen, but again, across to the Nigerian scene here, we told you how the National Youth Games have been commended from the contingent from the Lagos State team, and above all, we have to now return back to football in today's edition of the program. Kingsley. The Nigerian Women Football League is back. Bayelsa United Angels are doing everything possible to ensure that they can improve on their third place position of last season. Coach of the team, Wide Obonda, has acquired 3 more players to fortify the squad.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a good one at this point in time. Bayelsa Queens, last season they finished in 3rd position, and this time they got a new manager. Don't forget, Wide Obonda was with Rivers Angels last season. And after that, last season, the performance, of course, he didn't really do well with the team. The Bayelsa Queens, of course, have to get him. He's a very experienced manager when it has to do with the Nigerian Women Football League. And he knows what it takes, of course, to take a team to the top. And that's what he got him. Bringing new players, according to him, he said he wants to strengthen the team ahead of the coming season. It promises to be a very competitive season, looking at the fact that Rivers Angels, of course, will be trying to see how they can bounce back from last season performance. The likes of Edo Queens as well will be looking forward to see how they can put up that challenge. So I think White Ogbonna, at the helm of affairs of Bayelsa Queens, an experienced manager will say he knows what it takes, to be able to put the team in a very good shape in the Nigerian Women Football League. Bringing these players, he knows what he'll be able to do with them to make sure he gets the result. So we look forward to see how the season, of course, will pan out for Bayelsa Queens.
Bayelsa Queens ensuring that they have a strong team ahead of a very serious season, which is begun already. Let's look at what's happening in the male category in the Nigerian Professional Nigerian Premier Football League for male. Fidelis Ichuku, coach of Rangers International, has been reminiscing about the quality of his team after the outside from the CAF Champions League. His focus now is on the league here in Nigeria, and he thinks that Remo Stars is ahead of his team, Rangers International, that won the league last season.
I would say mind games from Fidelis Ichuku. That's what he did last season, telling the world that his team are not in a favorite position to win the title. But they went all the way to win the MPFL title last season, and now he's coming up with such a strategy. No doubt Remo Stars are a very good team, but you take a look at Fidelis Ichuku, he has a very good team as well, in Rangers. And for me, I think
good team. He wasn't able to go past the premier rounds of the CAF Champions League. I really don't think they have a very good team. It's not always rate your team by Nigerian standard, at least by the continental standard. But now every time they've been out of the continent for a long time, they returned because of the fact that they won the league, and they couldn't even get to the the group stage of the CAF Champions League.
Yeah, so when it has to do with the continental games, I don't think they are really up to standard. Enugu Rangers are really up to standard. Don't forget, it's been a very long time they got the tickets to represent the league in the continent. So I think some of the boys there are not really that much experience when it has to do with playing continental games at Enugu Rangers. So for me, I think that's the reason, of course, we didn't see that performance everyone expected from them in the CAF Champions League. Same thing with Remo Stars. Remo Stars even passed the first preliminary round of the competition. So you want to compare the both team, you definitely see that at least Rangers have a little bit of strength maybe in the continent than Remo Stars. This is Remo Stars, second outing in the continent, and they were also there in the first round. The first outing they were also there in the first round by Asfa of Morocco, and then the second outing as well, they were also there in the first round. So you see
by
that
the same team.
By the same team. So you see that they don't really have the experience. Even Rangers, they even try to move a little bit, in the competition. That's why I said when you take a look at the MPFA here, you definitely will give Enugu Rangers, some credit or some level of, a good team.
What's the difference between the first premier
Stars.
round and match and the second premier round match? I think Nigerian club sides need to sit up when it comes to the continent. It's a long time we had Yimba International, who won the league twice in the CAF Champions League, and that was more than 3 decades ago. And we just hope that we can find Nigerian club sides that are strong enough to compete on the continent. Talking about Yimba reminds me that Yimba is still now in the race, but they are at the CAF Confederations Cup, where they just emerged as one of the teams that will be zoned into the group. Let's go national now. Talking about going national, Austin Eguavon has now been confirmed as the coach that will see Nigeria through the matches involving the AFCON and, of course, the World Cup Premier fixtures. He's not been given the job in, let's say, in the full capacity, Kingsley, but he's been asked to oversee these fixtures pending when there will be new head coach for the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
For me, I think it's a good decision from the NFF at this point. I think we just have about less than 2 weeks for the next AFCON qualifiers encounter against Libya. Bringing a coach at this point in time will actually disrupt things already. The team had a very impressive outing in the game against Benin Republic and as well Rwanda. And of course, when you take a look at that level of performance, you should say that Austin Eguavon have something to offer. We saw them, of course, being on a very good pattern of play, talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. So for me, I think for this decision from the NFF is right. And when you take a look at the time range, you'll see it's actually a good one at this point in time. So the game against Libya, Eguavon will be able to see how to put the boys together. Don't forget the Fledis Lechuku and Daniel Ogumodede of Remo Stars, their assistant. And I think for me, they did a good job last time. So for me, it's a good decision from the NFF at this point.
Continuity is it, and because of lack of time, it will be too rush to bring in a new coach that might upset things. So we hope to see Austin Eguavon in Uyo in the next 2 weeks or thereabouts, overseeing hostilities against their counterparts from Libya. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Football Federation Technical Committee, headed by Austin Eguavon, did recommend Justin Madugu as the head coach of the senior women's national team, the Super Falcons, who too have been without a coach following the resignation of their foreign head coach. Now we have Justin Madugu as the substantive coach of the Falcons. This is a departure from the past.
Yes, I think for me, Justin Madugu, he was there at when NFF had a little bit of issue with Coach Randy Wardrum. He came in and was able to stabilize. And I think he even took part in some of the WAFCON qualifiers before Randy Wardrum, of course, came in back. And for me, not a bad one. We look forward to see what he'll be able to do with the Super Falcons of Nigeria. I think for some time now, the Super Falcons, they've not been that team, of course, we used to know. They've dropped in terms of performance. Even in the WAFCON, we didn't see them, putting up that top-notch performance as well. I won't say Randy Wardrum did a very poor job. He tried. At least he was able to bring some new faces. He was able to stabilize the team. We saw their performance in the Women's World Cup, at some point. So for me, he has to leave based on the fact that he said he has to go back and take care of his wife, who is not actually in a very good state of health. But for Justin Madugu, the mantle has been given to him. We hope he'll be able to take the Super Falcons, of course, to that enviable height we used to see them before.
Talking about the Super Falcons reminds me that the WAFU Under-20 Championship involving the Fly Eagles of Nigeria has had a draw, and the Nigerians have to come against Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire. Kingsley, this looks like the strongest teams in the group.
Definitely. If you take a look at it, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, they're one of the best down here in Africa.
Youth teams, yeah.
Yes, when it has to do with the Under-20 Championship. And I think the Flying Eagles, the Flying Eagles, of course, should, step up their game, because it's not going to be business as usual at this time. We'll see, steady growth when it has to do with this age-grade football. And for me, at this point, we'll be looking forward to see a very impressive outing from them this time.
Nigeria is involved against Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso. In the other group, host nation Togo has been drawn against Republic of Benin, Niger Republic, and Ghana. This looks like an even group, if you ask me, Kingsley.
Yeah. But for me, I think Ghana have a little bit of an edge there, even Benin Republic as well. But for Niger, I don't really have much hope on them in that group.
Togo is expected to host the Waffle Zone big tournament from next month, hopefully, and let's see how they can be a proper host. Let's quickly go to Europe now. We're running out of time. Manchester City seem to have something to cheer after a battle.
Yes, it's getting. It seems as if there's going to be a green light for Manchester City at this point in time. Don't forget, they've been actually given 115 charges of violating the Premier League rules, but this time, I think it has to do with the sponsorship, rules. I think they were able to get past this one yesterday when we saw this one actually being put together. But for me, I think it's not yet huru yet for Manchester City.
That's far different from the 115 charges.
Yes, so I think they still have a lot, to tackle at this point in time. If they don't get past this, it's going to be a very bad one for what they've been able to do over the years. So let them. I think it's just a point in time where they should just sit and just at least take a drink and then just chill and look forward to see how to get past the big one. Okay,
now let's quickly go to Europa. And there were actions last night. Fenerbahce of Turkey were able to take out their counterparts, saying Union Gilead by 2-1. Malmo lost at home, Rangers beating them by 2-0. Ajax were ruthless at home. They beat Besiktas of Turkey by 4-0. Braga overpowered Maccabi Tel Aviv by 2-1. Eintracht Frankfurt played a 3-all draw with Victoria Plzen, and it was 4-1 against Sokola, while Olympique Lyon of France beat Olympiacos of Greece by 2-0. Roma played at a 1-all draw with Athletic Bilbao. Then it was a whitewash at the Carabao Cup. Carabao Cup at the Torrent Hotspur Stadium in London, where Karabakh FK was beaten by 3 unreplied goals. It looks like a tough encounter, yet the scoreline didn't reflect that much.
A controversial one. Tottenham Hotspur defender, of course, was recorded earlier in that particular encounter. A lot of cards being distributed in that game. And for me, Tottenham were able to hold on. But I expected that victory, of course, from Tottenham. They were at home, playing against a team like, Karabakh. After not having an impressive start, of course, so far in the season, I expected them, of course, to go all out this time in the Europa League. And I think for me, was, of course, a result so many persons expected from them.
Well, let's hope that they can get out some of these results because when you have a small team to contend with, you just take them out clean and do not wait for return leg fixtures. Return leg fixtures for this encounter comes up just about a few days away from now. Do you see Karabakh troubling sports at home?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't really see that because I think Tottenham will want to capitalize on this particular victory and see how, of course, they can maybe get away with Karabakh and move on. They have to move on. I think Angel Postecoglou has a lot now on him, a lot of expectation, especially when you take a look at the way he started the season with them when he came in. We should be looking forward to see him, of course, take Tottenham Hotspur to the next level.
There has been some good news for Vinicius Jr. this hour because a Mallorca fan that racially abused him has been sentenced. Kingsley, fans have to behave themselves when to go to the stadium, give some respect to the players, and now we're beginning to see some suspended sentence for fans who abuse players. Remember, Chukwueze as well had an incident where the person who abused him and has equally been given some suspended sentence.
Yes, for me, I think this is good, coming from La Liga, because especially the man we're talking about, Vinicius Jr. He's been heavily
He's the most abused player you want to say right now.
He's been